Endeavor is a very special organization and very amazing in its nature. So it's an organization for and by entrepreneurs. For and by.
Okay.
For entrepreneurs and by entrepreneurs. On a macro level, what Endeavor tries to do is to catalyze entrepreneurial ecosystems, right? And the way we do this is to go about selecting high impact entrepreneurs, and these entrepreneurs who possess the most innovative ideas and have the capacity to realize these ideas, right? And through helping these entrepreneurs to scale their business, then they're able to generate wealth and also create thousands of jobs. So in Kenya, we're currently working with 16 entrepreneurs, very diversified in terms of sector exposure. So we have entrepreneurs who are in consumer retail, we have entrepreneurs in payments, for example, Cellulant. We have entrepreneurs who are solving for problems in the logistics space, lorry. And lorry, in simple terms, is the Uber for trucks.
Okay.
Right? We have entrepreneurs who are in the agricultural space and solving for logistical and supply chain problems, and that's Twiga Foods. So it's very diversified in terms of our exposure. But the common thread across all these entrepreneurs is that they're all leveraging on technology to be able to scale their businesses. We pride ourselves in helping one, and this is more intangible, helping entrepreneurs change their mindsets. So this is very important, right? So often the narrative that plays out here is that you see businesses start and there's a lot of excitement around it, and then either they fade away or they plateau at a certain level of growth, right? So we push our entrepreneurs to think bigger and to do bigger, right? With technology and access, and the access that entrepreneurs have to technology, there's no reason a Kenyan business that's built here, that's creating jobs here, cannot go global, cannot provide a solution that can be globally used, right? And M-Pesa, we often allude to the story of M-Pesa. We've been able to do it in payments, and there's no reason that innovation that is born and curated in Kenya cannot go global, right? So we really work on trying to make our entrepreneurs think really big. And the way we do it is to expose them to a global network of other entrepreneurs and business leaders who've been able to scale their businesses in markets that have similar conditions and similar operating environments to the ones here in Kenya and in Africa. And for them to realize that, hey, that guy has been able to do it, I too can do the same thing, right? Yeah. I think the common theme that we see playing across our entrepreneurs is one, access to capital, right? And so how do they access this capital? How do they package their business in a way that is friendly to investors and in a way that investors can relate to? Secondly is talent. And actually, more surprisingly, we recently did a survey amongst entrepreneurs, and access to talent was the one challenge that they considered top, right? So as these businesses are scaling, they're constantly looking for great talent. This talent is currently sitting in your big, large multinational companies, right? So it's very difficult to convince this executive who's had lots of years' experience to leave his cushy, corporate job and come join a very early stage company, but that is doing very exciting things, right? So a lot of them really struggle to get the right talent. And then thirdly is around mentorship. There's there are few entrepreneurs locally who've been able to start their business and scale them, and potentially have exits down the road, right? So access to those entrepreneurs who can share what their story has been, who can advise them on the pitfalls to avoid, and to help them with their decision-making process around this strategy is one of the areas that our entrepreneurs would like to get more help with, right? And then lastly is access to markets. A lot of our entrepreneurs are not only operating in Kenya, they have presence across many African countries. And as you know, each of these markets is very different, right? Has their own political structures, their own tax structures. And so we lack homogeneity across Africa, and I hope that will change with time. And I think there's a lot of work being done by various economic bodies and economic blocks to try and make these markets more homogeneous. So when an entrepreneur is moving from Kenya, say, to Nigeria, it's a whole different animal that they have to skin. And so that's one of the things that we help entrepreneurs with. So if, for example, I want to go into Nigeria, we have an office in Nigeria, so who should I be talking to? Where do I need to start? How do I access my clients? How do I build what should my go-to-market strategy be? So these are the things that we try help our entrepreneurs with. And this is a differentiator in sort of the stage of growth of where we select our companies, right? So these are not startup businesses. Yeah. These are businesses that are scaling. And we often find that by the time they're coming to join Endeavor, they already have some form of governance structures. A lot of them have raised money from external institutional investors. And so we'll have a board in place, we'll have reporting mechanisms. And so it's the structures are not perfect, they're work in progress, but they already do exist. So it's very different from startups. Okay. Yeah. Core of what we do is mentorship, right? So all the buckets of services that we offer our entrepreneurs, be it access to capital, access to talent, access to markets, is all anchored on mentorship, right? So if entrepreneurs are going out fundraising, how should I structure my pitch deck? Okay, what sector are you in? Say you're in payments. So we'll get you an entrepreneur, say, who's run a similar business and been able to scale and been able to raise money before, sit down with you and guide you how you should go about raising money, right? So yes, at the core of it is mentoring. We're a non-profit organization by nature, right? Yeah. But we do support organizations or companies that are for profit and generating revenue and doing this in a sustainable way. So for us, it's really, and this is where I started from, is our role is to play, is to have a catalytic effect in the ecosystem. Yeah. So and by doing that, you're creating these entrepreneurs who are able to scale up their businesses and become role models for the next generation of entrepreneurs. So I would say what we're getting from it is it's very tangible. When you see these businesses grow and they're creating jobs, then it trickles directly into the GDP of the economy of the country and has a significant multiplier effect. Okay. By nature, we're very commercially minded. And the way we look at it is that if you're building a business in this market, inevitably you're having a social impact, right? Yeah. So take Twiga, for example, that's revolutionizing the supply chain in agriculture. So they're able to offer farmers better prices for their produce, and by taking out all the inefficiencies in the supply chain, you as an end consumer, you're able to access your banana at a much cheaper price. Yeah, so better quality and a better price. So inevitably, in whatever sectors these entrepreneurs are in, they're having major social and economic impact. So yes, it is at though we are commercially driven, it's inevitably our entrepreneurs do have a lot of impact. We're one organization, so an Endeavor entrepreneur, we do not make distinctions from an Endeavor entrepreneur in Brazil to an Endeavor entrepreneur in Kenya.
Okay.
So if an Endeavor entrepreneur sitting here in Kenya wants to access the Brazilian market, we have an office in Brazil, and the same services that he can access here are the same services that he accesses in Brazil, right? Yeah. So we're very integrated as an organization. And this is part of the strength of or what we pride ourselves in, right? And there's a lot of forums where all our entrepreneurs globally come together, and a lot of learning experiences, peer-to-peer learning experiences between them. So in terms of the model and how the model works, right? So we go about searching for this high. So it's a very aspirational network for entrepreneurs, right? So our search our search process is very rigorous, and then we take them through a selection process. And once they're selected at the local level, we take them to an international selection panel. And where they meet with business leaders from all over the world and have to pitch their business to this panelist. And then once you're selected at the international selection panel, then you're now officially an Endeavor entrepreneur and can access all the services that we provide to our entrepreneurs, right? And then thereafter, after you've scaled your business, the expectation is that you will be giving back to the ecosystem. And one way in which you give back to the ecosystem is you can invest in another entrepreneur who's starting up their business. We highly encourage our own entrepreneurs to create an entrepreneurial culture within their own organizations, so that you have your employees who spin off and go create their own businesses. And we've seen that to be highly successful, because for somebody to go scale their own business, you can only do what you can relate to, right? So if you haven't been part of an environment or an organization that has been able to scale, then it becomes much harder to be able to relate to what scale looks like, right? And then also we're already seeing it happening a lot with our own entrepreneurs who are mentoring other entrepreneurs within this ecosystem. Yeah, so for us it's very critical that you have to give back and you have to reinvest back into your ecosystem. We also have our own venture capital fund, Endeavor Catalyst. And we are a co-investment fund, so we invest in the back of a lead investor. So as we help our entrepreneurs to raise money, we also commit our own funds into supporting them through their growth journey. And that's one of the services that's very popular with our entrepreneurs.